uh, too different. We don't understand them. They're in a different region, So there's
But if there's the technical details are there,
yeah.
then
But yeah, that goes to the experience, the expertise. You get a lot of can you verify what they claim in terms of traction and so on? Is the team, simple things? Is the team full time? Is the cap table right? Are the right people involved? Are the things the way they should be? They say they are. Um, so yeah, it can be so many different things. Over the years, you get a few kind of red flags. If there are family members involved, usually be very careful. Um, you get a few things like this, which you also learn over time not to look at. But on the other hand, I think over time I've become more careful and think more. You have had more experience now looking at many startups, both from the ones I haven't invested in and the one I've invested in, and which one has succeeded, which one has failed. But at the same time, it's also easy to take too little risk. And that is a risk in itself. As angel investors, we are in the business of taking risk. And we sometimes have to remind ourselves, we have this discussion with Becca and Ali, that, hang on, yeah, of course, we could spend all day finding problems with these startups. But our job is to take risk. And of course, then help companies or try to help them up where they have weaknesses. So that's also, I think, a learning over the years, that sometimes that this one we actually should look at and not dismiss too easily.
Welcome to Kallio Maki Podcast, exploring entrepreneurship, society, and well-being. Subscribe now to stay updated on our latest episodes.
nice person.
Okay, we are getting a thumbs up from our technician, so that means we are live and on LinkedIn. And just a quick reminder to anybody who's listening, you can give us an audience question to our guest Henry, or to Jussi and me if you want. But we have 30 minutes with our guest Henry Nilert. Henry is a Swedish entrepreneur with a background living and working in France, the US, the United Kingdom, and Finland. And you work in Founders Edge, which is an early stage investment from founders to founders. So that's really interesting. Could you give us a little bit more introduction to Founders Edge and how it came to be, and who's in your core team? I'm noticing someone who I already saw on LinkedIn just the other day.
Yeah, for sure. Bit of background. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 25 years. I've had my own companies in mobile services, in consumer credit. So I've been living that journey, building companies, exiting companies, and so on. And when I stopped doing that, I started angel investing about 9 years ago. And initially, I was doing that by myself, of course, collaborating with other angels, with seed funds, and so on and so forth. But it's very nice to work together. And with there's a few investors that we kept meeting, in particular the two other partners of Founders Edge, Pekka Ylitalo and Ali Omar. And we founded this group. It's an informal group. It's not a fund. It's our money. And so on, but it helps us to better approach startups. It helps us to better work together. You get, instead of working yourself as an angel, we have our investment committee, which is us three making decisions, and we've been working like this for the last 3 years. And all of the investments we've done over the last 3 years have been together as Founders Edge. So it's been really, really useful collaboration with those two guys.
And how is this received on the founders side of the table? And how would a founder describe you guys as what separates you from everybody else, or single investors as a trio?
We've been around the block. I've been an entrepreneur. Ali is an entrepreneur. Pekka has been an entrepreneur. So we know what it is to build startups. We've done a lot of investments between the three of us in different companies. Personally, I've invested in more than 40. I think Ali is probably about the same, a few less for Pekka. So we've seen a lot of cases and so on. And we take this work really seriously. So when we approach a startup, we put a lot of effort into getting to know them, understanding the business. Is this right for us? Is there a good connection? All this kind of stuff. And what we can do, first being the three of us, we can take a more important role than if we're just individual angels. We very frequently lead rounds. Between the three of us, we usually do first tickets around 100 to 250,000 euros. And then if more is required, we bring in other people from our network, or we can co-invest with some of the local seed funds. So we can easily take a lead role and make a deal happen. That's often very important for founders to find that lead investor. Or
especially now, like in this market situation.
Yeah, you need someone to take charge, and other investors are looking at, okay, what do they think? Is someone doing the work here? Or we can take a completely different role, which we sometimes do when someone else is taking the lead, and we take a following role. Of course, happy to help the company in that situation as well, going forward, but it's a different role. So we're very flexible. I mean, we're angel investors. We can do what we want. But typically that's one of those roles we take. And I think that collaboration, the three of us working very closely and then working with other angels and funds, has been really interesting.
Yeah, I would say that they are just doing the bit same and not like us, but they sort of don't have these founders that are in a company, in the same company structure and so on. And I've known Ali the best of you three since my first startup, Balansian. I have to tell this story because Ali is probably watching this. So I have to be honest here. I'm not normally like it now. But then Ali was like a really active user of Balansian, my first startup. And we had like dozens of phone calls together because I was really keen to learn what the users like or not like, and suddenly he became one of the well-known angel investors in Finland. So, but it was like 17 years ago. I don't know, but long time ago.
Right.
So we exchanged a couple of emails before this show, and I mentioned that I would like to know how you guys evaluate or score startups to spot the ones with the most fit to you.
Yeah.
I don't mean best, but the most fit, because it's the survival of the fittest, not best. So how would you approach that question?
So you have there's such a huge universe of startups. We tend to do very early stage, usually companies with a B2B SaaS angle, although we've done other things. Looked at marketplaces, we've looked at many other sectors as well, but typically B2B SaaS, because as angel investors, you can usually achieve something with some of those companies with limited, reasonable resources, that you can reach the next stage and reach the next stage. If you're in biotech or materials or consumer, usually it takes so much money that it's out of reach for most angel investors. It's not interesting. So we look in that space. We typically are the first investors after friends and family and so on. So companies are typically they have something in the market. We usually not, just slide work. They need to have proven that, they can get something done and get some traction. So usually quite early. And we're very much in the pre-seed, stage of funding. Companies looking for anywhere from 200 to 2 million, with valuations that correspond to that type of funding round.
Hey, I have been a founder of a startup 17 years ago, and it shows. You can see the gray hair. But I think for the founders, this is something nice to discuss a bit more. Because when I was the first time founder, I didn't understand sort of anything about how the investors have different kind of strategies, and they invest into different stages of the company, and then even industries. For me, there were just people with money, basically, as the first time founder. So let's go once, sort of the roadmap when it goes the best, and Henry's model of that, how would the best path go with a startup. To describe a bit about how the investors also change during this trip from starting, and I'm asking your version of it.
The overall journey, if you like.
Yeah.
No, it starts typically. The founders they need to get something going. They need to show that they can work by themselves and get something up. Doesn't take much resources if you're good to get something out, to reach out, to sell, and so on. That's one thing we look at very much with the companies. Not only do we understand the idea, et cetera, but what have they achieved? What's the rate of execution? We meet them this month, and we meet them again a month and a half from now. Are they moving? So that's very, very, very typical. But we get involved at the stage where, yes, I think angel investment makes sense. You have something, it's still very raw. You have some traction in the market, and you need that pre-seed round in order to prove that you can deliver the rest of the product, for example, if that's on your roadmap, and get those first customers. Prove that you have this famous product market fit. It's something that a lot of people talk about. It's not something that everyone understands, but it's absolutely crucial to find that. And usually to find that takes a huge amount of work, a huge amount of digging, usually much more work than most founders expect, to kind of really understand what works and what doesn't work in their business. You have to kind of, there's no limit to how deep you actually need to go before that starts to connect, and you really understand what you need to do. Only then later, once you get to that stage, then later you can raise larger rounds, which help you to scale. But before you get in an A round, for example, and start to scale, you need to have proven that you really understand your business effectively. So I think that's kind of the evolution. And we come in at the very, very early stage, where it's super risky. A lot of companies fail. That's something we take into account, and that's normal. A lot of companies take much longer than expected to find it, but it's a very exciting. It's for me the most exciting part of building a business, because everything is so open. And
okay, Henry is my brother from now. Henry is my brother from now, because we Riku Asikainen, the Fiban founder, asked me once that I started to do what I do nowadays. You see, with your background, you could do something with the companies that are a bit more like some revenues and so on. Then I said, Riku, that's exactly what I don't do. Because the founders, when they need the friends, they don't have friends. We want to be friends when they don't have other friends. Because, for instance, many VCs, then they are like, yeah, good, thumbs up when you have the first million revenue or something. And Henry, we are needed here in this market, in this small Finland. You are needed. I mean, you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
But I was actually asking about the sort of the funding path. But in general, it goes like, first you get your own money in, your friends, family, you know this saying, friends, full family. And then you get maybe the next stage, professional angels, if you are lucky, like Henry, guys. Then you might get the next sort of, I wouldn't call it level, but a bit bigger pockets, like super angels having a bigger pockets, or then family offices having sometimes really good pockets. Then you get first VC that is seeking for this like early stage companies.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course it doesn't go always like this, and the categorization of this is not that simple, but then it might be some bigger like a US fund or something. So this was something difficult for me to understand, like really that who to call, who are the people and when. Because some, of course, angels have so different strategies as well. So Henry is saying SaaS. Okay, that's one category. Then if you have like...
Although we look at many other things as well.
So,
but the key is, we meet hundreds of companies. We do maybe 5 new investments per year. So it's, the hit rate is not very high. And there's so many, some of it is quite clear. Okay, this is too far, it's too big, it's not my space, it's biotech, it's very easy. But then as we start studying the companies, there's so many things that we look at that can be not right or not right for us, or simply that we don't have a connection with the founders or personality or anything else. Wrong country, wrong something. So it's it's quite hard to find the right fit with and find that connection with the right investor.
And this is why you have to have really many meetings with investors, which the founders many times they don't understand.
Yeah, because fundraising is, and founders complain about this. I don't have time to do my business. But unfortunately, part of the business of running a startup is fundraising. It can easily be 50% of your time on a not that much, but a big chunk of your time on an ongoing basis to make sure that you have the funds to continue.
Exactly.
And joining in as an angel investor, do you want the founder to already be good at securing funding, or do you want them to be someone who's coachable and you can sort of uplift them and give them the tools that they need to secure that funding into different phases?
Everyone is different. It'd be great to have founders who are great at everything, but that's not the case. Nobody is. And I'd rather have someone who really understands really has interesting insights into their space where they are trying to make a difference and they have the ability to execute there. Fundraising, we can support. We do a lot of support, others can support, and so on. But I guess looking at founders or looking at the startup as general, there's always going to be things that are not okay. And the key is to find the right balance there. Are they okay enough that we feel that this has a good chance of succeeding? And then it's up to the team with the support of their investors and others to fill those gaps.
How about if you would, it's like, as you said, we might have like 30 different things that we do in the scoring. But if you would like to address like 3 things that you value or rank the most critical stuff, if it's a SaaS, if it's a B2B, if it's fitting with the like basic strategy. So what are the three most critical scoring categories?
We don't score officially, but I'll roughly give kind of what we,
Okay.
one of course is the business. Is this something we get? Do we see the opportunity? Do we connect on that one? Do we? It might be things I've never thought about, but okay, yeah, that seems to make market is big enough. All this kind of stuff. The second is what have they achieved? What are they? How are these guys or girls, ladies moving? Are they able to execute with whatever resources they have? It's fine. You don't have any resources, you're not going to be able to do as much, but you need to prove that you're able to get stuff done. You can track the team, you can call investors, you can call customers. You're not afraid to pick up the phone and make things happen. And then the third, of course, the team in general. Do they have the reason we call ourselves Founders Edge is do they have, you need the edge, some kind of edge in order to succeed. You need to have the right background, the right insight, the right understanding, that you have something different to contribute to the market that you're attacking. And there we spent, of course, a lot of time trying to get a sense for the team individually, in general, how they complement each other's, how they work together, and so on. So those very broadly are the three main categories. It goes down to lots of detail.
How about like on the opposite side? What are the things that we can use the word hate here, even if we are not talking about some specific company or something, but what are the things that you have learned to sort of avoid that, hey, that's a red flag for us? Like you can select more than three, but
yeah, I think
easy.
there's clearly businesses that we don't look at. They're too different. We don't understand them. They're in a different region, so there's.
But if there's the technical details are there, then.
But yeah, that goes to the experience, the expertise. You get a lot of, can you verify what they claim in terms of traction and so on? Is the team, simple things. Is the team full time? Is the cap table right? Are the right people involved? Are the things the way they should be? They say they are. So yeah, it can be so many different things. Over the years, you get a few kind of red flags. If there are family members involved, usually be very careful. You get a few things like this, which you also learn over time not to look at. But on the other hand, I think over time I've become more careful and think more. You have had more experience now looking at many startups, both from the ones I haven't invested in and the one I've invested in, and which one has succeeded, which one has failed. But at the same time, it's also easy to take too little risk. And that is a risk in itself. As angel investors, we are in the business of taking risk. And we sometimes have to remind ourselves, we have this discussion with Pekka and Ali, that, hang on, yeah, of course, we could spend all day finding problems with these startups. But our job is to take risk. And of course, then help companies or try to help them up where they have weaknesses. So that's also, I think, a learning over the years, that sometimes that this one we actually should look at and not dismiss too easily.
I have one question still. Sorry about stealing your podcast here once again. But this is like Ilkka Kaikuva, which was the last guy we had discussion with, and Ilkka was really concentrating into the sort of human side on this, like I would say, the points where the angel can actually help finding those. Because as you were talking about, like, if it's not a risk, then maybe, yeah, that's once in a lifetime type of thing. But angels want to help also founders. So that's the reason for sometimes the angels see that, hey, I actually have nothing to give to you, so I don't invest. It's for the founders, it's a bit difficult to understand. But we are also like human beings. We want to deliver, we want to help. But then there is sort of this balance. Yuri Engström has said well that, hey, at first he started to invest into companies that needed his help, and then he said that, then I figured out that I'm actually an investor, so maybe I should select some companies too that don't need my help. But I think in the angel phase, we want to give. It's not only about money. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely, mostly, and that's where, as I mentioned, the connection with the founders is very important. That we feel that we can, just feel that I listen, I hear, the dialogue goes back and forth, they listen, and that's a productive discussion. So yes, we're always there. Then in terms of how much we actually get involved, how much we actually help, depends on the circumstance. I have some companies where every week we talk and we something gets done and stuff like that. Others it's once a month or once a quarter. Few or not at all, because we've invested. Some other angel has taken the lead. We trust them. They're working with the company, and of course we'll help if we can, but we're not really needed. So it really depends. But yeah, that connection is super important. It's the business. Even if you have a perfect business, perfect team, you need to feel that you can. There's some value in the exchange.
Yeah. But I didn't understand that when I was the first-time founder. Also, like now I understand, as we have extended owners of the company, that when we have selected the sort of best out of best people, and I think that when they invested, this is not actually official. Even now, it seems to be official because we are having this podcast. But anyways, selecting like people that we want to be in the ecosystem of Liquida. Because I have been preaching about smart money for like 17 years, not maybe 10 plus years. But then when we did the same as we teach, we did, and took the investors that we wanted. Not actually investors, but partners, or what kind of like people that we want to join us. That has been really underlying the importance of doing the selection right. Because I think the people, I'm even one of those guys, I'm telling that, hey, actually, you have done a lot of more value than you invested. So I don't think that this is in balance, what you're doing here to help us. So what's your view on that topic?
Building a successful startup is so hard. It's massively hard. I've done it. It burns you. It's enormously draining. And you need to be surrounded by people who support you, especially when things go badly. And I think that's super important. That's one of the messages I give to founders we work with all the time, like in terms of reporting and communicating. Like, especially when things go badly, I want to hear about it. Not because I don't care. I expect things to go badly. Then we can help. Then you can share the bad news. Then you can get other people to help you. Get less pressure. You have, instead of yourself trying to stressing how to dig yourself out of a hole, you have other people who are willing to bring the shovel and dig with you. So I think that's you need to have the right team. You need to have the right board. You need to have the right investors behind you, and everyone needs to be aligned. If there's fighting or people try to pull in different directions, hard enough to build a business that without that.
Henry, I love this discussion. Like really, because we just discussed before, because we had a break before you came, and we were discussing about the importance of understanding how people behave when things don't go like expected.
Yeah.
And this is why something that in this what we do, we see massive amounts of angels and companies. We hear all the stories. And this is something I want to remind, and this is for the investor side. The founders speak about their angels and how they behave in the background. So basically, it leads to a situation that the best supportive business angels get the best startups, and the ones that only have money but are not behaving well get the rest. So karma is really working. So it works in the background, and many times the business angels don't even understand this. They don't know because no one tells them directly that, hey, you lost this case, we didn't call you because we have heard about you. And this is not for Henry, but this is for the audience. Think about how you behave with the money you have, because money is not giving you any extra something, power or
ego. And well, when we look at the typical capitalist or investor, I'm not sure who is the typical one, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks who became rich overnight or got an inheritance or made an exit or something. And there's a multitude of stories there, and there might be some lessons that people need to learn when their financial situation changes. So being a good investor is for sure a lifelong journey in itself.
Most angels I know in the ecosystem are very deeply interested in early stage startups. So there's I think there's very few who don't have that interest, just want to kind of make money. Or it might be possible to do that later stage, investing in A and B rounds,
or VC
as a co-investor or something like that. But I think most angels I've come across are super interested and willing to help with the startups. But it's not easy to do. You need some time, which can be difficult, and the problems are always there. No startup that I've ever come across has a smooth ride, and it can be quite difficult. So it's really, you need a team, especially, to be super committed, and you need everyone around to be supportive.
Henry, we'd love to keep you further, but we also respect your timetable and that of ourselves and our audience. So we are running over time, and I'd like to have you on the show again in the future.
That'd be great.
And check up and see what new things you have learned. But before you go, would you like to give some plug of your latest happenings or website that people could go to learn more about Founders Edge?
People can always reach me on LinkedIn and the Founders Edge. Founders Edge, we have a website, foundersedge.vc. So always happy to hear from startups, from co-investors, and we usually try to respond. It's not so easy to respond to everyone, but get in touch. Love to hear from you.
Amazing. So people, go check out Founders Edge. If you're in LinkedIn, follow Henry Nilert, drop him a message and ask him more. Okay, so thank you, Henry. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Henry.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Nora at, I think, 1500 hours.
Yeah.
Yes. So stay tuned, everybody.